In this video, we will look at the AGILE Manifesto. The AGILE Manifesto is a document that identifies the key values and principles behind the Agile philosophy. It was born out of a need to find a common ground among Scrum, Extreme Programming, Crystal Clear, and other frameworks. In February 2001, 17 software developers came together in Snowbird, Utah to talk, ski, relax, eat, and try to find a common ground on how to develop software better. Among these 17 people were representatives of Extreme Programming, Scrum, feature-driven development, and other frameworks. So basically competitors in thought. However, they were starting to see that there was something common that they were doing. This group named itself the Agile Alliance, and after their two-day meeting had a result to present to the world, namely the Manifesto for Agile Software Development. Agile Manifesto is only 68 words and very simply says we can develop software better when valuing the items on the left side of the list more than the items on the right side of the list. The Agile Manifesto says we are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to value individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. That is, while there is value in the items on the right, we value the items on the left more. Since that time, the original document has been used by companies in a variety of industries, from software to hospitality industry. Its universality is derived from a group of 12 principles that support these four values and can be broadly applied, easily learned but rarely mastered completely. These four values set the base for the next 12 principles. And these 12 principles were also a product of the two-day summit in Snowbird, Utah. Let's now look at each of these 12 principles in detail. So the first principle is our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. It is true that it takes a lot of time and effort to build a product. However, unlike traditional approaches to product development, which have notoriously long development cycles, this Agile principle encourages minimizing the time between the idea and launch. The idea is to get working product in the hands of the customer as soon as possible, because at the end of the day, what makes a customer happy is a valuable working product. How is this done? Teams will try to get a minimum viable product out and into the world and use it to get feedback from real customers. This feedback is then fed back into the product development process and used to inform future releases. The second principle says, welcome changing requirements even late in development. Agile processes harness change for the customers and competitive advantage. Previous approaches to product development were often change adverse. Detailed, well-documented plans were made before development began, and these plans were pretty much set in stone, regardless of new findings. As the world around us is constantly changing, this Agile principle highlights the necessity to observe changing markets and changing customer needs. Our customers understand their needs more clearly after they see the increment provided by us. That is why this principle welcomes the changing requirements from the customers, and in this way the process stays empirical and the customer gets what is required to stay in the competition. The third principle says deliver working software frequently, from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, with a preference to the shorter timescale. Agile philosophy favors breaking a product's development into smaller components and shipping those components frequently. With frequent delivery, you mitigate the risks of your release. You get faster feedback from your customer and hence can bring changes to the product before it is too late. The fourth principle says business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. It takes a village to raise a child, they say, and the same applies to product as well. A successful product requires insight from the business and technical sides of an organization, which can only happen if these two teams work together consistently. When business people and developers work together, they gain a common understanding of the direction in which a project is moving. The development team also gets an end-user view from the business side, and it brings trust and transparency into the whole development process. The fifth principle says, build projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and support they need and trust them to get the job done. Motivated people produce results that can never be produced by people who are forced to get the job done. Therefore, a key part of the Agile philosophy is to empower individuals and teams through trust and autonomy. The sixth principle says the most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face conversation. With so many distributed or remote development teams these days, this principle gets quite a bit of critique. But at the root of it, effective communication with developers means getting these conversations out of Slack and email and favoring more human interaction, even if it's done by video conferencing calls. The overall objective behind this principle is to encourage product people and developers to truly communicate in real time about the product, requirements, and the high-level strategy driving those things. This helps to avoid ambiguity that the written communication might create. The next principle is working software is the primary measure of progress. As we know, working product is the most valuable to the customer. So the planning has no direct benefit for them until a working product is actually given to them. Therefore, the measure of progress should be actually the working product or software. This mentality pushes us to get products to the market quickly rather than let documentation or it's not done until it's perfect mentality become a bottleneck. The eighth principle is agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. Product development is like running a marathon. You should maintain the speed, but you should not run so fast that you exhaust yourself. Similarly, sustainable development happens when you do constant production of features over a long-lasting period of time. This agile principle encourages us to be mindful and set realistic, clear expectations. The idea is to keep morale high and improve work-life balance to prevent burnout and turnover among members of our cross-functional teams. The ninth principle says continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. While the Agile philosophy encourages shorter cycles and frequent releases, it also puts emphasis on the importance of keeping things neat and tidy so they don't cause problems in the future. The team needs to be aware of technical debt and implications technical debt creates. The 10th principle says simplicity. The art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. You've probably heard of the 80-20 rule, the concept that you can usually get 80% of your intended results with just 20% of the work. Agile principles encourage thinking this way, doing the things that can have the most impact. More features make a product more complex. Some of these features are very difficult to develop, test, and afterwards maintain. Sometimes products have features that are so rarely used that their development and maintenance result in a negative ROI. Therefore, it is important to have a laser-sharp focus on organizational objectives and make cutthroat prioritization decisions. It is more useful to create a product that does a few things extraordinary and is completely useful for someone, rather than a product that tries to do everything and does nothing extraordinary. The 11th principle is the best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. A self-organizing team is a team that does not depend on or wait for others to assign their work. Instead, these teams find their own work and manage the associated responsibilities and timelines. They take on the responsibility to choose the most effective way to complete their work and regularly look for ways to improve. Having a self-organizing team promotes collaboration, teamwork, competency, regular growth, motivation, and commitment. The last Agile principle says at regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. If you're truly living by Agile principles, there is no place for "we can't change because we've always done it this way." Just like we're always learning new things about our customers and markets, we're also learning from the processes we are using to learn those things. Agile is not about following a strictly defined process for every sprint and release. It's about continuous improvement. And that continuous improvement must also extend to processes and teams.